This is 2-2 and 2-3 part 2. We're going to do a couple of word problems. Okay, so let's say we have a toll charge. We're going under a tunnel that charges. So the toll charge is 50 cents, right? So if you want to go through this tunnel, you got to pay 50 cents every single time. But let's say that, we're going to write that with a dollar sign, by the way. Let's say that they actually sell a sticker that costs $5.50, right? But what happens after the $5.50 is that it only costs 35 cents, right? So they're trying to get you to buy this sticker so that you can save money. So we want to know basically what's the cheaper option. Like, at least how many trips do I have to take before the sticker is going to cost less than the toll charge? I need to know if it's worth it to buy the sticker, right? So I need to know if I'm going to make enough trips in order for it to be worth it, because that $5.50 expense is sort of a lot of money. So I'm going to call x the number of trips. Okay, and if x is the number of trips, then that means it's going to cost 50 cents times x for each time that I go through the toll, the regular toll, and then it's going to be $5.50 plus 0.35x if I buy the sticker. Okay, so we're going to take these two things and we're going to write them out here. So we've got $5.50 plus 0.35x, right, if we buy the sticker, and then we have 0.50x. Now this is not an equal sign, right, it's actually an inequality. So I'm trying to figure out when the sticker is cheaper. So I'm going to make the sticker cost less, right, than the regular toll charge to see when that happens. So I'm going to subtract 0.35x from both sides, and I end up with 550 is equal to 0.5x. I divide by 0.15, and I end up with x is greater than 36.6. Okay, so 36.6. Now, I can't really take 36.7 trips, right? I can't take a decimal number of trips through this tunnel. That just doesn't make sense. I'd have to splice myself in half, which would be impossible and gross. So what I say is that x is at least, I round up, 37, right? So I need to take at least 37 trips in order for the sticker to be worth it. So that's a lot of trips. So if you were only going into the city like a couple times, you might not want to buy the sticker. Okay, but if you go every single day, probably worth it to buy the sticker. Okay, so we have Jim, and he takes a bunch of tests. So Jim takes 3 tests, and we have his scores. So we have the first, the second, and the third test. So on the third test, he scores 88. But on the first test, we don't know what he scores, okay? And on the third one, he's 8 points higher than his first one. So he did better on the second one. So we're going to first put down one more piece of information here. Jim has a B average in the class. Okay, that's all we know, which means we know that he's between 80 and 89, right? And this is inclusive. If he's 80 or 89, he'll still have a B average. So let's go ahead and call our first score x, and then our second score is going to be 8 points higher than that, so it's x plus 8. Now we're going to average these three. Remember that when we average, we add them all together and divide by the number of scores, right? So it's divide by the number of numbers, which is 3. And I'm just going to add x and x plus 8 and 88. I end up with 2x plus 96 over 3, which turns into 2/3 x plus 32. Now I know that this is his average, but it's in between 80 and 89. Inclusive, right? So I'm going to write 80 is less than or equal to, because of the inclusive, 2/3 x plus 32 is less than or equal to 89. Okay, that inclusive word is very important. It tells you whether it's just the less than signs or the less than or equal to signs. So I'm subtracting 32 from all 3 sides of the equation, and I end up with 48 is less than or equal to 2/3 x is less than or equal to 57. Okay, then I'm going to multiply everything by the reciprocal of 2/3 so that it cancels. I'm going to do a little bit of algebra here and one thing on my calculator. I end up with x is less than or equal to 85.5. And then on the other side, I have 72, which means that Jim's first test score was somewhere between 72 and 85.5. So hopefully this all makes sense. We'll talk about this more in class. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Good luck on your homework.